Jai Hind Desh. Few months back, we had come across a video where we had seen young Captain Sangwan sir from the hospital bed just after a few days of Kargil war, were giving an interview where actually when he was asked that Kargil war had taken away one leg from him, he had given an amazing reply. He had said, when we joined Indian Army, when we wore this uniform, we had taken a pledge to give our full body. So the war had taken only one leg from me. I feel pity for the enemy that they couldn't take my full body. So I haven't heard anything as inspirational, as motivational like this. And then we contacted Sir, and we know that we are 22 years late in getting in touch with him, but we believe better late than never. So today, and anything good, any happiness, we feel it increases, multiplies when we share it with everyone. So we thought today we must have Captain Sangwan sir with us in our Kargil series Vartalap so that we can share his bravery, the story of his bravery and courage, so that all of you who will listen today will get motivated. Welcome to our Vartalap, sir. It's an honor to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, Team Desh and the coordinator Adrija and Ansuya. And as just now, ma'am was talking about a small video clip 22 years back. In fact, that's how when she contacted me with these videos, I was also taken aback, and I do not know, okay, that such kind of video does exist. A lot of time has already passed, and it's been 22 years. And I just find each and every day, each and every year which has passed over since 1999, I have found that I have become more energetic to perform a job, to give back to my nation, for which we were wearing the uniform. So I feel very, very fortunate to be amongst you today, and just sharing with you a couple of incidents which actually happened around 22 years back, and thereafter how life has changed totally for me, and not only for me but for my family, my friends, and in the organization in which I work. So thanks a lot, Adrija and Anusuya, that we are today interacting with each other, right? So do we have some question answer sessions, or I just speak monologue, or how are we going to actually what is the format? This can you share with me, Adrija?
Sir, we will be asking you a few questions just to know what happened 22 years ago in the war and then your journey post-war, sir.
Perfectly okay. Yeah.
Anusha,
So
over to you. Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah. Please carry on.
Sir, just let us look back few years more also. That
Yes.
What inspires you to join army?
Wow. Uh, in fact, this is a wonderful question, and which, in fact, as a small young boy, my father, he was working in Air Force, so I had blood of a soldier already in my veins, and now when I look back 22 years back, then I used to actually think about something else. And after say passing on so many years, and small dots, they keep on joining. Now what Ansuya is asking the question, what actually inspired? Actually, I find the as a kid, when I used to visit our village, we used to actually sleep outside on a roof and used to watch the stars. And in fact, every child who is sleeping outside and watching the stars at night always dreams of stars. And since my father, he was already working in the Air Force, so I got a couple of opportunities to meet his seniors, his colleagues, and other counterparts. So always the glitter of the star, the shine of the stars, was always used to attract me. And secondly, when I was born in 1971, immediately I was born, I was 2 3 months old. That's when my father, he was fighting the 1971 war, Indo-Pakistan war. So maybe जैसे वो अभिमन्यु का जैसे महाभारत में सुनते हैं कि उसने अपनी माँ के पेट में ही चक्रव्यूह का जो कैसे उसको तोड़ना है वो सुन लिया था. Maybe I was a small kid and my father was fighting a war. It might have impacted me. Why I say this, and why we have listened about the stories of Abhimanyu. Now I could reconnect because I have a daughter now, 22 years old. When I was fighting war and I got injured, 3 months after my injury, my good luck, my family's good luck, I was blessed with a daughter girl. So, and now when I see her, she has got all those traits which I find, okay, a Fauji should have. Maybe like when she was in her mother's womb, she might have inculcated those things in her genetically. So I find this is some things, some traits which are passed on from generation to generation, and this passing on the blood of a soldier to a next generation actually does makes a lot of difference. So that attraction to the glitter of the stars, that kept on actually say inspiring me to join the Indian army. And that's how like somehow the circumstances keep on like kept on changing, and रास्ता खुलता गया और एक एक कदम आगे बढ़ते गए. And I was fortunate to join the Indian Army in 1996, March 96. I got commissioned from Chennai.
Sir, then you had joined OTA Chennai. It was in which
Yes.
year? Huh?
I joined in Myanmar in 1995, and I got commissioned in the SS-60 first course in March 1996. So that's when around 25 years back we got commissioned in the Grenadiers regiment. I was a hardcore opti of the infantry, and for
Infantry.
the infantry. That's for the dear friends, colleagues, those who are now listening. I must just share with you that in the Indian Army we have our fighting forces and our support forces. And in the fighting forces, we have our infantry. Those are actually like the regiments what we hear: the Jat regiment, Sikh regiment, Grenadiers, Rajputana, Maratha. So and these are the infantry. Those are actual the ground soldiers. Then those are another troops. Those are fighting in the tanks. So in the tanks, they are called the armor. So the people those are working in this armored regiment, and you might have heard the name of Bofors guns. They are the artillery.
Yes.
So so artillery is another fighting arm. Then along with that we have our engineers, those who are moving along with us, and other support arms like the supply corps, the ordnance, the signals, and all the other peripheral. So when we were getting commissioned, we have an option that they ask us, okay, which service or which arm do you would like to opt for? Where do you want to go? So I was a die-hard infantry opti. So I gave my first three choices. First was the Jat regiment, second was the Grenadiers regiment, and the third was the Rajputana rifles. So I was fortunate to get my second choice in the infantry of the Grenadiers, and I belong to the 16th battalion of the Grenadiers regiment.
Yes, sir. And sir, what was your first posting? Where was your first posting?
Well, after getting commissioned, our first posting was in Pathankot, Mamun Cant. Pathankot is, uh, in fact, one of the very large cantonment, uh, just exactly in the, we call it as a chicken neck area, as we see in the India's map. It is on the border of Punjab and Jammu and Kashmir, so where the river Ravi flows, and thereafter the very hot sector is there. Samba sector is there. Recently, if you might have heard the news of some drone attacks, and last year there was a attack on the Air Force base in
Airbase.
Pathankot. So that was the place where I was posted, and we were at the border post, and thereafter, we got transferred from there. Our battalion moved from Pathankot to Dras in the Kargil sector. So in 97, late 1997, 98, so we were posted there in Dras sector. Dras is to be known as uh, having the harshest climate, harshest weather in the world. In winters, the temperature actually falls down. As a record, matter of record, it was minus 60 degree, and that is known as the world's second uh, coldest inhabitable place in the world after Siberia. So that is a place I'm talking about around 25 years back, 20, 23, 25 years back. So and there were very less infrastructure over there. At the base it was all tin shades, and on the top the posts where we used to actually go and occupy, they remained cut off from the world for almost 8 to 9 months in a year. Only 2 3 months time is there that somebody can reach to all those posts. So they were very harsh conditions. So uh, if you compare the enemies, so the opponent, the Pakistani army was a lesser enemy than the climate, the weather over there, the living conditions were so harsh. So that's the place we were actually posted, and we spent a couple of months over there. Thereafter, this thing, the misadventure of our neighbors, it started there.
Sir, when you had gone for the war, sir, did your family knew that you are going for a war?
Okay, this is also quite interesting incident that, yeah, as you are aware that the war started in the month of May. So in May, June, and July, 2 3 months are the only months where the entire say the logistics, the entire supply chain is managed all across the Dras, Kargil, Leh, Ladakh, entire area. So that area remains cut off from the world otherwise. So for the rest of the year, when this road opens, so all the rations and everything moves up at that point of time. So during that period, they somehow allow the families also to come for say 10 15 days, and visit the place, and they can go back. So when this thing was happening, when this first incident was reported at that point of time, uh, fortunately my wife, she had just reported, she had just joined me at Dras only. In fact, yeah, she had reached at Dras. I was up on the post, and thereafter this incident started happening. Some reporting was there of sighting of the Pakis, and the families, they were actually asked to go back. So they were aware that some things are okay happening, but what's happening, where it's happening was not even shared with them. They were all taken back to Srinagar and shifted back to the respective places. It was only through the media which used to report only a portion of some little bit portion of what's happening there, because movement of media was also quite restricted. So that's a time when back home, my wife, she was staying with my brother's place. They had purchased a television just to hear the news, what's happening, and the daily briefs. So yes, of course, they were aware of what's happening, and during that period, while the war was going on almost for 2 months, we never got an opportunity to speak to the family. No, I was not fortunate. Then, in fact, the incident started on 7th of May. I still remember that we were at Kargil at that point of time. Kargil, as it's very well known place, very known in that sector. There we were having a brigade headquarters, and I was with my pistol firing team. Uh, we were given orders that okay, some movement is seen in the in Batalik sector. So in that area, one battalion was there in Batalik, one was in Kargil. That was in Batalik we had 3 Punjab regiment. In Kargil we had 22 Grenadiers and 10 Garhwal regiment. Then in Kaksar we had 4 Jat regiment, and in Dras we were 16 Grenadiers. So that is how the entire brigade was located. And there was a movement seen in the Batalik sector by the 3 Punjab. So we were inducted there to inquire into, and in fact see, physically go on the ground and find out whether these reports which have come from our Bakkarwals or the shepherds, they have actually come and reported okay what's happening there. So when we went up there, so the news was true, and on 7th of May, we were, as part of our small commando platoon or the fighter platoon we were having, we went up there, and that's how the first bullets or the first shots of this Kargil war were fired on 7th of May. We were not actually prepared. Nobody has actually dreamt of that. Okay, the war is going to start. We were having only a small amount of our ammunition, and we were not carrying rations, or we were actually not prepared to camp on over there. So then a small party was there. They were fired upon by the Pakistani. That's the time when we got alert, and when we went up there, there was actually total chaos. And it was about in the evening, we came to know, okay, that it's not the shepherds or some of the like other people, but some of the highly trained people are maybe the militants or something. Some guys are there. Those up in the mountains are firing at us, and after some time, when we saw okay, one or two of our men were injured. I, as the platoon commander, as the commando platoon commander, assessed the situation and passed on the message in the radio that okay, there are heavily armed people sitting all across the mountains and hammering us from all the sides. And next day, okay, it was almost midnight or something like that. Then we were already ready with our guns at the crossing of the nalas, and the moment we saw some black shadows moving towards the bridge, we were just about to fire them, and we came to know okay, it is our own patrolling party which is actually about to just cross that, and even they were also waiting till midnight to cross. So we were just about to shoot each other, because they were not having any radio communication up in the mountains. We were not able to communicate with each other. So somehow when we came one to one, we learned that in the evening, when there was a heavy firing across in the valley, up in the mountains around 100 meters, 150 meters ahead of us. So we had three casualties of our platoon. And they said keep, they were not sure whether they are dead or they are injured, they are in what condition, but they confirmed said uh, to three of them they are still there, and we do not know how many have crossed and how many are still pending behind there. So that was the time I started getting the feel. Okay, it's not a small simple thing. We are dealing with something real big, and by the kind of the firing, the weapons which are fired, uh, since we are trained commandos, so we could make out that with the machine guns and the rockets what they're firing, it's not a job of 8 to 10 people. It is a heavily fortified kind of a thing. So around we fixed up our guns. Went since I knew that area well. I had been there in '98 also. So along with two, three of my commandos, I said, okay, fine. Will be moving ahead. And since it's night, and in case if we are having our say injured soldiers, injured bodies, we need to evacuate them. We have to bring them back, and that's how like we crawled up ahead, and we had to complete this mission by early morning 4 a.m. because during that time by the say cycle of the moon, uh, 4 o'clock the moonrise was there, and in case if moonrise is there, then we would be exposed, because in mountains and it was snow there in mountains, if the moonlight actually shines, uh, so we'll get exposed. So along with the nala which was flowing and touch, so just keeping our feet on the boulders and crawling, we reached there, and we couldn't even actually raise a voice, shout or call out the names, because we were sure that people are sitting nearby on the boulders or already say fix their lines of the guns and machine guns onto us. And naturally, like I had fixed my machine guns on the say a small bridge and the trail. So likewise they were also say fix their guns, and anything, even a small leaf is moving, they'll fire at us. So, under those conditions, knowing fully well that we are under the fire of the enemy, anytime they may fire at us, we crawled and tried with slowly searched under each and every small little bush over there under the stones, and we could recover or find out uh, two of our men. Uh, they had around 8 to 10 bullets in the body, and they had bled the last, so they were not alive by the time we reached there. One was deep inside the nala, half of the body was in the water. Another was just lying under the bush with his hand on his gun. So I, along with my two commandos, uh, we had to actually pull our buddy back. So that was quite a, in fact, a very very difficult task, knowing very well that anything which moves is going to be shot at, and we cannot afford to stand as well. So we have to crawl and get my men back. So getting, as you must be aware that okay, a live person is fine. Okay, you can always get him back. But if somebody who is not moving, taking him out, and that too in the mountains, around 15,000 feet high, it's very difficult. Somehow we brought our boy back, and it was about say 3:45 early in the morning, and then when we reported back to our higher ups that okay, this is the scenario, and uh, we are in position of our two bodies with us. So the orders were that keep on holding the position wherever you are, so that we can further send up the reinforcements. and assess the situation. Whatever situation is there, keep reporting from there. Uh, by then, we had already. By the time I came back from that forward location, so my subedar, he informed, okay, 7 or 8 of our men, they have crossed over the small wooden bridge, and they are back in the safety. So that was kind of a relief. And we learned that later on, 3 have not reached. So 2 of them we could see, but the third person was what at that point of time was not aware. We were not aware. Then we got orders that, okay, now since you are already there, occupy the position in whatever condition you are, and ensure that the enemy doesn't move further uh, down the nala. So I, along with my boys, went up the hill, because in the mountains, anybody who's sitting on the higher side is always a king, and anybody who is down the hill is always a victim. Because if somebody is sitting on the top, he can even just throw stones and kill a person. So I had around 12 boys with me. So we went up the hill, and and that also we had to like climb up fast, because we were just expecting anytime the sunrise might be there, and if the sunrise is there and we get exposed, so none of us are going to be alive. So that's how, like, the first night when we reached there, and when we reported, we were up at quite a good altitude. And in the morning, for the first light with the binoculars, when we saw, we could see, okay, at different peaks, 3 sides, we were surrounded by uh, more than 100 Pakis, and very well trenched, and those places there. At the time, got a feel of, okay, we were actual real thick into thick, and the Pakistanis had actually come down hunting the boys on that night, and it was just a God's grace that somehow we were there in that killing zone from say around say 1:30, 2 o'clock till morning, through around more than 1.5 hours. We were there exactly within say 40-50 meters close of Pakistanis, and we were just fortunate that we came back. All the guns were onto us. Once these things were reported, then the real scenario was sent back to the higher ups, and that was in fact the first feeling. Okay, yes, something big is there, and we all have to be much prepared. We didn't have anything with us, in fact, to eat or drink, like that, something. So whatever is little bit snow was there, just to actually take out the, when he says baraf liya thoda kha liya, that was it. And it kept on reporting, and the things and the reinforcement they kept on building up slowly. And the second day, first day we could not see, but slowly I kept on moving from one position to another position. uh, Second day or third day, with the binoculars I could locate the dead body of my third Jawan. He was behind the boulders. The body was behind the boulders. uh, I couldn't afford to leave the body there, and Pakistanis, they knew, okay, some of us are there. They started hammering us with the rockets, with the machine guns. Any moment in the bushes or in the boulders, anything was there, they used to fire at us. And they knew where our body is lying, down the Nala. So their machine guns were even popped up there. I left my JCO there on the top, and took 2 of my brave boys. I told him, in case if any moment is there, you are free to fire, and I cannot afford to leave my boys down there. my JCO said, don't uh, take on this adventure or misadventure, what you say. But as being a officer and a leader in command, I couldn't see that my body of my men is lying below, and I'm not able to retrieve that. So at night, I passed on the message down below that I'm going to go down and retrieve the body. I was fortunate that we could get the body of my men. We took it back, and that's the time when I was coming up. I was fortunate that the Gurkha regiment is about to come and help us out. And there in Gurkha regiment, I met this brave young officer, uh, Manoj Pandey, who later got Paramveer Chakra. So the, by couple of seconds, I just met with him. I said, uh, "Who are you?" He says, "Sir, I'm Lieutenant Manoj Pandey from the Gurkha regiment, and we have heard about uh, what you have been doing there in the past 1 week. And don't worry, we are here to replace you. What can I do for you?" I just felt so so confident while interacting with Manoj. So I said, "Ki, now I am feeling comfortable. The only thing what I want you to do is that please ensure that the body of my Jawan reaches back home." He says, "Ki, sir, don't worry, ये मेरा भाई है." He ensured that. Later I came to know he ensured that uh, Mohan Katat, his body was honorably brought back by Manoj and handed over to the authorities, and later on that body reached back his home. So, so that was the brave boy, Manoj. And that was, I think, sixth day. I went up once again on the mountain, and that was the seventh day. First 7 days of this Kargil war, when things started, that was a time when the entire nation was just waking up, and they were not even having the entire scenario. And our defense minister had said, ki, okay, uh, the assessment is there are a couple of some few mujahideens and some Pakistanis, some mujahideens fighting over there, and we'll be able to throw them out in a couple of days, because the situation was not so understandable at that point of time in the entire sector. It was only in our sector things were moving up. The first 7 days, uh, we did not have anything to eat because we were not prepared for staying so long. We were not carrying anything. And in the last 3 days, we didn't have anything to drink water as well. We do not know from where we got this so much of power, but it was the our training as a commando that we survived there. We kept on fighting. They were firing at us. We were not having the luxury of firing at our own discretion at them, because we were not carrying so much of weapons, so much of ammunition with us. We were just carrying say a couple of magazines each of our small arms, and one machine gun was there, and they were all very well fortified. So it was quite a unequal situation from that point of time. Maybe the authorities, they understood, the higher ups, they understood, and that's how the reinforcement had come. So seventh day, early, in fact, after seventh night, we got a radio message that yes, we are getting been replaced by this Gurkha regiment, so they'll be coming up, and you have to go back. That's the time when we were coming down. We came to know, okay, at the same time when we were fighting up there, the unfortunate incident in the 4 Jat regiment in Kaksar area, where our brave Captain Saurav Kalia and four of his men, the patrol that was captured alive by the Pakistanis and were taken as a prisoners, and they were tortured. And when these incidents were happening, it was also found that there is an intrusion of Pakistanis in Dras sector, in Kaksar sector, in Kargil, in Batalik. Across the line of control, 140 kilometers area was intruded by the Pakistanis in the places which was unoccupied during the harsh winters. So it was a kind of a since 1972 Shimla agreement. So because that is an inhospitable terrain, so it was an agreement that every year, whenever the summer time was there, the post will be occupied, and during winters, even they will also go back. We'll also come back, and nobody is going to stay in the. That's going to be no man's land. But this time they did not retreat, and they immediately came back under their own plans. That's how like those unoccupied pockets was occupied them by them, and they intruded in that area. These this information we came to know when we were actually brought back. So while staying up there in Batalik sector, we were just while crossing up the Nala and like that at night, I had a fall around 50 to 60 feet up in the mountains from there. Uh, I got a serious injury in my backbone, so it was difficult for me to further climb up. And this eighth day when we came back, so that real assessment of situation was done by the para commandos and others, so that the another operations could be launched. So whatever the information uh, I was passing on, it was directly being relayed to the operational command rooms, and accordingly the plan of the Indian Army was made. I was fortunate to be there in the beginning. So when I got injured, I was brought to the Kargil base hospital, their field hospital, and that's the time when I came to know. Okay, this since my battalion was posted in Dras sector, similar kind of activities already going on in Dras sector, in Tololing area, and we learned that even Tiger Hill is also occupied, and point 5151, couple of heights were taken by Pakistanis. So in the hospital, the doctors they said ki the injury in your uh, back is the spinal cord is quite serious, and you need to at least rest for 1 week or 10 days so that you get all right and back for the operations. I was quite disappointed. I just requested them that okay, I cannot afford to stay here in the hospital for 10 days when my battalion and my company is in the war. So I was requested to kindly uh, just leave me within 48 hours. So it will be difficult for me to stay back here. So that's the time the doctors they said, no, we will not allow you to go. So my buddy was there with me. So I just requested the doctor. The doctor was quite known to us, very very brave doctor. I said, ma'am, I just give 48 hours. Either you make me all right, or I'm going to run away from the hospital. She said, okay, I will make sure that you don't leave the hospital of that. But I also made sure that the third night, just after passing 48 hours, I requested my buddy to meet me at the Dras, the famous Kargil bridge is known as Suru Nadi ke par hai, and the entire operation movement was going on with the Bofors and the Scanias and all the heavy vehicles were moving. I told my buddy, मेरा सामान वगैरह लेके, you meet me at the bridge at around 2:30 at night. I went to the washroom, and from the washroom, I climbed up the window, crossed over the window, left the hospital, reached the Kargil bridge, walking down around a kilometer or plus, and my buddy was there with me, waiting for me. At the bridge, the check post, I introduced myself, Captain Sangwan from Grenadiers. I have to go to Dras. Do you have any vehicles going then towards Dras? Because Kargil say Dras is around 60 kilometers. In normal time, it takes around 2 hours. Around at that time, around 2 hours. But since it was night time and the movement was quite restricted due to heavy Pakistani firing on the roads, so it might have taken long. He said, we don't have any special vehicle going, but yes, the guns are moving up. So the guns are moving up. I said, fine, I will just request somebody. And we found some Bofors gun were being pushed on to that place. And I was fortunate that the officer there, he permitted, okay, fine, sir, we don't have any other place in like that right now. So if you want, you can come along with it with a vehicle which is pulling up the gun. It was fine. I along with a buddy, both of us boarded that. Scania is the name of the vehicle, which actually pulls the Bofors guns, and we were sitting in the Scania along with the driver ke saath mein baith ke, and we left Kargil at around 3 in the morning towards Dras. So by first light or so, we were there at Dras. Meanwhile, there are a couple of points where Pakistani artillery used to fire at their own will whenever they see any vehicle moving. So straight away they used to fire at us. So the orders were that while you're crossing those difficult patches, all the lights have to be on. Now on one side the river is flowing hundreds of feet down below, and on one side is the wall of the mountain, and you have to actually drive at total blank. And when we are crossing that area, somebody actually has to physically walk in front of you in front of the vehicle to inform that, okay, this is the road. You don't have to go on right or left. And these people were moving for the first time in that area. Since I knew the area, I got down, and 150 or 200 meters, I was just walking with my gun, putting a small light, a small torch, hidden torch in my cap, a cap facing backside towards the driver, just 4 or 5 feet in front of the big Scania carrying the Bofors, and just giving signals. And anything could have happened at that point of time. 2-3 such patches were there. Since we knew the area, that's how, like, when they pass on the patch, once again sit in the vehicle and cross over. So it was quite scary and quite thrilling and interesting as well. And my thrills were actually went to the dogs by the time I reached Dras. So Dras, actually, that point of time, it was badly being hammered by Pakistanis, by the artillery and all. So by the time we reached there, I went to my company area, which was there. Earlier, like when we had gone to Batalik sector, that was in a good shape. But by the time when I came back here, so it was all bombarded and all the things were flat around. So all my commanding officer and everybody was in the bunkers. So I remember, but before I reached Dras, the news from the hospital from Kargil had already been was already being shared by the hospital people that, okay, this officer is missing and he is absconding from the hospital and he is not found anywhere. Please info us in case if you come to know or hear something from him, because it was their responsibility also that one officer patient is missing, that to an injured officer patient is missing, something is wrong. So I was very happy, glad. I reported back, and I said, "Ki Jain sir, I am back here, so and so." So they give me, the first thing they gave me was all the choices of the blessings in the Fauji way, and कि भाई, how are you was asked quite काफी सुनाने के बाद में, then they asked कि how are you and all. I said कि now I am fine. Okay, fine. They said कि okay, welcome back. Nice to see that you are alive, and don't carry on this misadventure now. Okay, I said fine, and then it was the day when the 18 Grenadiers Regiment was already inducted therein for the famous Battle of Tololing. I was just at the Bimbat LC, the place. If a couple of you have already visited Dras sector, the now the National War Memorial at the Kargil War Memorial is in Dras. That's the place called Bimbat. That was the camp area for our battalion, which were all being pumped up on the Toloring. The Rajputan Rifles, the Grenadiers, and Jackrif, they all went through this exercise. Vikram Batra's battalion, everybody, the Kushal Thakur. So I was I was asked to go and rest and recoup there and guide the battalions, those who are actually being inducted there, since it was for the first time they're moving in. I was supposed to actually take rest, but when the commanding officer of the 18th Grenadiers Regiment said, okay, we have to actually go up and see that we have to take on these posts, the Tololing. So I was quite happy that okay, I could be of some use to the upgoing battalion. I was not in a condition to walk. I had been advised full bed rest so that my spinal cord doesn't actually become worse. I couldn't stop myself, but I picked up a walking stick, and I, along with my other colleagues, along with a buddy, we went up there, and from a vantage point from where we could actually see the Pakistani posts and where they're occupying, where they're sitting, we went up the mountains and guided them to okay, which are the routes to be taken, because we were aware of the areas and which areas are not to be explored and not to be like which are to be avoided, kind of a thing. And that's how kept on assisting them. Thereafter, we were inducted into the average further operations at different places whenever the battalions or the companies were coming. So our battalion was totally scattered in the companies, in platoons, and a lot of army was pumped in. So from one location to another location throughout the war, it was almost for 2 months that we saw everything from our own eyes, whether it was getting our own bunkers or our own accommodation being pumped up by the Pakistanis, or their locations, their oil downs being burnt alive, and there are Bofors guns firing. That was kind of it was an amazing and in fact जिंदगी में बहुत कम ऐसा मौका मिलता है to see these kind of live action part. Though we had seen during our courses, we have done all these things, but actually seeing there in live, the force actually is having range of around 27 kilometers fight. But here, the brave hearts, these guys, they were really amazing. They actually came onto the road and they were firing in the direct roll, seeing the mountains, seeing the posts exactly 5 to 6, 7 kilometers live up, standing bilkul aamne samne, and then they're firing. Another thing, the multi-barrel rocket launcher, MBRLs, that's another. They got 40 rockets in that MBRL. One on one, it is just like in Diwali में जैसे हम देखते हैं कि some rockets they keep on firing after every 1 second, like that. So it's the live firing on the Pakistani posts. And war normally during this time was fought at night only, because during daytime, if we are making any movement, the Pakistani used to fire and hammer anything, and they were sitting on the top of us. So when we are moving up, it is very difficult to actually move during the daytime. So at night time, when there is no light, and whatever the mission is given, so the battalions or the companies, the platoons, they will keep moving from right or left, and whatever target is there, they are they are to be captured. So when whatever target is there, first the firing power will be from the artillery. Long range weapons will be fired, Then after that, the close range weapons, then our own fire base. Uh, After that comes our own battalions, company fire base, and then the people, our commandos, our soldiers, they keep moving down under the fire. So we are trained for that. And in the parabola, our rounds are firing in this, falling in this pattern, and we are crawling under the own fire. So the entire mountains were actually were on fire, and when these bombs are being fired at that point of time, they are having own killing range, let's say 100 150 meters across. So we have to be quite careful about and actually we have to see, okay, what time which is firing. But ऐसे टाइम में क्या होता है कि we don't come to know कि whether these rounds are being fired by the Pakistan या हमारा, because they are fighting for their own survival, because they knew कि okay, now they are going to dead. So whatever they have, they are firing at us. At the same time, even the Indian Air Force, they played a very significant role. Uh, the fighter jets, the Mirages, the MiGs, they actually played quite a havoc on the Pakistani posts. First, they used to come and fire the laser bombs in the snow. The laser bomb was just like a pink color bomb, markers. So in the first round, the first order they'll come, they'll fire the markers, and the people, the platoon sitting nearby area, those who can actually are watching through the binoculars, we'll just say, okay, this bomb is around 500 meters or 1 kilometer on the right or left of the post, like that. Those readings are passed on through our artillery, through our observation posts, to back to the command, from the command to the air command, from there to the pilots. And hats off to the Indian Air Force pilots, the fighter pilots, that within all these activities are just happening within couple of minutes. That by the time they cross over the valley, they come for the second round, they have to be so sure that they have already made the corrections given by the person sitting on the ground, by the army person actually on the observation post. He has passed on that information to the army channel, from there to the Air Force channel, and that is being communicated to the pilot, who is moving with a supersonic speed in the Mirages and the MiGs. And then that pilot is taking on his aim once again, and then firing onto the Pakistani post, bang on. That itself, a salute to these people, that how competent they are. And once again, that this kind of war, at this altitude, nowhere in the history, in the military history of the world, such a war has ever been fought at such an altitude, at such temperatures, and with that too, with the fighter jets. For everyone, it was the first time. Nobody has ever practiced even this. The practice shots were the real shots. So that's how our brave soldiers were there. And besides our fighter jets, the helicopters, those operations were amazing and most effective one. These guys, now recently we have already acquired Apache helicopters, but that time we had Mi-17, the Mi-17, the bigger ones. That yes, they used to come first round, and they used to identify the location, and thereafter, after identifying the location, they used to hammer the Pakistani post like anything, and knowing very, very well that they are always at risk. And without worrying about their own risk, the Indian Air Force helicopter pilots, salute to them, that they performed wonderfully well, and they actually helped the Indian Army to go up there and occupy those Pakistani posts. And in one such incident, we lost one of our helicopters. If some of you have this memories with you, that it was fired with a Stinger missile by Pakistanis on the post. I was just around 2 kilometers up in the mountains in that area, and we were watching our these helicopters coming in the attack position, and they just took a rotation, and they were about to fire the weapons. That 90-degree on the other peak, we could see the Stinger missile coming towards the helicopter. uh, Fortunately or unfortunately, I was carrying my camera, usme Kodak, that was a camera. I have captured a few of my pictures during the wartime as well. So I just clicked one picture of that helicopter which was actually coming for the attack, and I didn't knew that that would be the last picture, in fact, for the helicopter. In front of our eyes, that was the Stinger missile was fired, and it hit our the back side of the helicopter, and it was on fire. And while I'm talking to you, I'm still getting this that the feeling. I counted 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Boom! The helicopter was down with 4 of our brave soldiers, Air Force soldiers. That uh, it was like, ये अभी सब कुछ था और अभी कुछ भी नहीं है. That's how life is just like a bubble. I'll just quote another example. We were about to go for an attack, and Pakistanis, they knew that they are going to get hammered from this position, and we were about to move up. Suddenly, there was a fire towards us. I pulled up my boy back. It was just fraction of a second that he survived. And after 3 seconds, because they came to know our location, that okay, they are behind this boulder. We were not having any sheds or under the bunkers. We were up in the mountains in open. So they came to know about our position. After 3-4 seconds, a rocket launcher was a rocket RPG was fired at us, and by the sound of that RPG, we could comprehend. Okay, I shouted, "It's an RPG! Lie down!" And it was just that boulder was 3 feet thick, and it hit that boulder. And I was on, I along with my buddy was on this side of the boulder, and that boulder actually cracked into so many pieces. वो helmet पे लगा, सब कुछ लगा, and we had to actually crawl and move on to a next location. It was just a matter of couple of seconds that these things happen. And this war actually taught us how much a human body can actually endure. That was a very, very important lesson which everybody who was fighting the war actually had learned. Most of the time, we never had enough food to eat. We didn't have water to drink. Forget about other luxuries. Then sometimes, some ammunition, something is coming, they used to send us some kerosene oil. We used to carry one stove with us, because temperatures were there in -15, -20, -25 degree temperatures up in the open. And at night, when Pakistani, they used to fire at us, they say in Diwali we fire our illumination round, the pura ujala ho jata hai, and one parachute kind of a bomb is flying, and we all clap. So that is called the illumination round. And whenever they used to fire illumination round, so our movements were actually being captured by the Pakistanis. And followed by that was the air burst, the worst kind of bomb, what I would say, because we were not having any overhead shelter on us. So that bomb will come actually in a parabola, and about 15-20 meters above us is going to blast, and with all the fragments and everything is going to kill or injure everyone who's in the open there. So those kind of scary things we actually had to endure. And since we were not having much thing to eat, so जो केरोसिन का हमारे पास जो टीन आता था, तो वो टीन का जो ऊपर से टुकड़ा, उसका जो कवर है, उसको काट के अपने उस नाइफ जो नाइफ साथ में था, तो उसको used to put it on the stove जलाया, and थोड़ा बहुत आटा वगैरह होता था, तो आटा लिया, and उधर टिन का जो चपरा उसका वो कवर है, उसके ऊपर भी टू से बना के रोटी कुछ कर लिया, तो सभी एक एक रोटी 2 रोटी चीज को जैसा बन गया ले लिया। एंड ठीक है, देन वी टू व्हाट यूज्ड टू डू, अपना एक जेब में रोटी रख लिया, क्या पता नेक्स्ट टाइम कभी खाने को मिलेगा नहीं मिलेगा, एंड यूज्ड टू लाइक पापड़ की तरह नेक्स्ट डे खाने को रख लेंगे। बिकॉज एंड व्हाट अबाउट वाटर, देयर वाज नो वाटर देयर, and there was so much heavy artillery shelling and our own bombing and Pakistani bombing was there that entire snow got melted there due to the heat, complete snow. So only a couple of snow patches were there in the mountains, left nearby us, and enemy knew that okay, for the water they have to come to the snow patch. जैसे शिकार करते हैं, okay, ये पानी पीने के लिए शेर यहाँ पर आएगा तो वहां पिंजरा लगा दे, that way. So they had fixed their machine guns onto the snow patches, that any moment near the snow patch, fire at will. And at night, I used to crawl near slowly used to crawl near the snow patch, और थोड़ा सा वो लिया, खोज के थोड़ा बर्फ ले लिया, and in the same टीन का डब्बा used to bring it back, and the snow, उसको used to boil the water, boil the snow, so used to have some drinking water. And that tin ka dabba was also basically kerosene only. So when the water was there, तो उसके ऊपर एक small layer of kerosene would be flowing over that, and that definitely it is stinking like anything. But in order to survive, ठीक है, अपना ऐसा नाक बंद किया and take a couple of sips पानी लिया, and okay fine, fair enough. और जो पापड़ जैसा रोटी जो जेब में डाल के रखा है उसको लिया, थोड़ा खाया, and okay, let's keep moving. And even our snow boots, that was also like completely torn, तो बड़ा बड़ा इतना उसमें होल हो गया, तो we were wearing 2 socks, तो एक socks निकाल के उसको नीचे उसको cushioning किया, another socks को सिर्फ single socks से करके, that's how like we were fighting there in those places. So just to share with you dear friends, that भूख क्या होती है, प्यास क्या होती है, what is the limit of hunger, we have seen that. डर क्या होता है, और मौत का डर क्या होता है, we saw that. और गुस्सा क्या होता है वो भी देखा वहां पर, because in my own hands we have seen my buddies, my men getting blown off. So that was the anger that actually keeps us going, कि कुछ भी करके उनको खत्म करना है, उसने मेरा एक मारा उसका 4 मारने. So everything we were experiencing, and it was just, I would say during the tough times we actually become tough, and we were fortunate that we are so highly trained in all the kind of warfares that the mission in front of us was bigger than anything else. And being a trained commandos, that was a part of a job and part of our duty that somehow that we couldn't afford to lose in a single or inch. One time what happened is, one of my जवान, he said कि साहब ये देखो ना, ऊपर पूरा पहाड़ है, बर्फ है पड़ा है, और पूरे पत्थर वाले पहाड़ है, इतना टेम्परेचर है, कुछ भी नहीं है, उनके लिए भी कुछ भी नहीं है, हमारे लिए भी कुछ भी नहीं है, still we are fighting like anything and all. ये जगह तो ऐसा जमीन को छोड़ देना चाहिए, इसका फालतू सा ऐसा कोई जगह नहीं है. So I kept on listening to him. Then I told him, look back. And when we look back, it was we were up around 8 to 10 kilometers up in the mountains. When we look back, it was Dras, our small town, the river flowing by, and the other side, the other mountains, and it was total shant ऐसा लग रहा है. I said, look back. This road which is passing on from Leh to Kargil to Dras to Srinagar, this is our lifeline, and that is what these Pakistanis they want, to cut off this line so that they cut off our Ladakh area, entire thing. It is not the matter of this small town or the small road. It is matter of the entire Leh and Ladakh and that area. Imagine the map of India. Can you imagine that not having the upper head of our country's map, not in India? Can you imagine that? This is नहीं साहब नहीं सोच सकते. So that is the motivation. We will not let them stay in our territory or they take our territory even a single inch, come what may. जैसे कि साहब समझ में आ गई बात. I just had a thought. I thought कि I should share with you. So अच्छी बुरी जो भी बातें आती हैं, our men, like we have a rapport. We share with each other, and that's how sometimes times are not good. Sometimes we are very sad. Sometimes, of course, we do feel about our home people also. कि families है जब है. But when we are on our mission, at that point of time, uh, topmost is the mission. Rest all. The second comes my men under my command and my own safety, my family. That comes last, always and every time. So that is our basic motto that keeps us driving. And as leaders, we are there to lead our troops. We are there to actually show them the way, show them the path. So that is our actual the leadership qualities of our Indian Army and the Air Force and the Navy. The officers that are trained to do that, because you actually have to be so highly motivated yourself that first of all you should be in a position to face those adversity and face the death into the eyes. So imagine the level of motivation of our Indian Army officers, that they themselves are so highly motivated in their lives and during the action, that they not only take the decisions, the harshest decision in the life of the, I would say, the decision of the life and death of the men they are commanding. It's not only about them, but that small decision, I would say, they have to actually motivate the troops also to reach that level of high motivation, that yes, we can sacrifice anything for our motherland, for our mission, for our regiment. That's what we are actually trained for, and that's how actually the feelings are there for us. And the basic learning of any Indian Army or a defense officer or any person wearing a uniform, whether it is the state police or the NCC or anyone, it's the naam, namak or nishan. Naam is desh ka, namak is desh ka, do loyal to the country. Naam, namak or nishan. Nishan is our flag, our national flag, Tiranga Jhanda. So that's what actually keeps us motivating, that we will not let our naam of a regiment, of a battalion, of our family come down. Naam, we will be loyal to our country, जिसने सब कुछ हमको दिया है. And finally the nishan, the flag, जिसको हम तिरंगा बोलते हैं, उसके लिए कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. So that's how actually we motivate ourselves. So likewise, almost fighting for 2 months. It was say on 29th of June 1999, when we were about to go and capture the place, the Kali Pahadi, the Black Rock area, the Knoll area. We went along with the 2 Rajputan rifles in the attack there, and that was a very, very, I would say, a difficult attack. And in that attack, we lost 3 brave officers. You might have heard about Lieutenant Vijayan Thapar, Major Acharya, and Lieutenant Kengruze, around 10 to 12 of the brave soldiers while attacking and capturing the Pakistani posts. And after capturing the post, Pakistanis, they are known for a very quick counter-attack. So I was along with my platoon on the left flank, and they were on the right flank. We went for a dummy attack. Pakistanis were hammering us very badly, and we were slowly crawling up and moving on the left side, and our Rajputan rifles were moving on the right side. When we stopped, our Rajrif companies, they went on for attack one on one, and we almost captured and those locations. And when we lost so many of our brave soldiers, I got orders to immediately occupy the Pakistanis, those bunkers in those areas. Along with my boys, went down the Nala and climbed up the hill. And while I was just moving up, then the brave commanding officer, Colonel Ravindranath from the 2 Rajputan Rifles, uh, I met him. Of course, we were always on in touch on the radio set in the operation. I met him, and at the time, the same time, he says, "Ki, Sangwan, you have to go and occupy these positions." I said, "Ki, sir, I am ready, and my boys are ready. We are moving up." And at the same time, there was a sleeping bag, a body bag, broad bag. I I just out of curiosity asked, "Sir, uh, ye," he said, "Ke Major Acharya." So I saluted the brave Major Padma Pani Acharya, and placed that, okay, these whatever sacrifice our soldiers have made, will not let it go like in vain. And we climbed up the place, climbed up the positions there. So Pakistanis, they had thrown away all their stuff there, and the sleeping bags and rations and everything. And at the same time, they had thrown the mines everywhere all across their bunkers. Night, it was around 11:30 or so. So I was moving up because time was very less, and my boys, they were just about 100 meters behind me. I got a radio message from my buddy that we all have got together, and we are ready to come up on the post. I said, "Okay, fine, don't worry, I'll just come down and take you all up." That's the time around I just moved down 10 meters or so. It was night 11:30. I I just stepped on one of a Pakistani minefield, and it was a big blast that in the mines, and I fell down. After a couple of minutes, I felt a great pain in my right leg below knee, and when I actually touched and found out, it was I found that I don't have my right leg below knee. It was totally blown off by the mine, and that was all the flesh was hanging, and bones hanging around, and heavily bleeding. So I understood that I have stepped on a mine, and I got injured. I shouted for help, but it was heavily, like a heavy fire was going on. They could not listen to me. And after some time, when there was some gap in the firing, they heard me asking for help. I was shouting. So at that time, when I looked around, I found I was lying down in a minefield, and everywhere they thrown the mines. So I was very fortunate that uh, the rest of my other body was not affected, but some of splinters were there. I was not able to see properly, and I was actually say bleeding heavily. So I took out my own dressing, field dressing, the bandages what I'm carrying uh, in my pouches. So I collected the hanging bone and the flesh, and tied it tightly with that bandage what I was having. And more important was that I asked my JCU and my men to not to step down below anywhere, keep their foot on the boulders only, and inform them that this is a minefield we are actually entering into. Occupy the bunkers immediately, so that Pakistani counter attack comes, we should not lose the position. Once the position was safe, then on the radio set, I passed on the message to my commanding officer down below in Dras, informed them that I got injured during the war, during this attack, and my leg is below knee is blown off. So I got orders to get evacuated. So it was around 11:30 or past 11:30. So couple of my brave men. They helped me because there was no such way. So they had to just carry me somehow up in the mountains. So it took us around 7 to 8 hours to come down in that condition down below, and that was the time like first of my painkiller morphine injection I could get. So till that time I was hanging around, and I could not afford to, I would say, to get unconscious, because somehow I had a feeling that if I get unconscious, I won't wake up again. And I was brought back to Dras, and later on evacuated from there to a place called Gumri, just near Zozila Pass. And there, the wonderful doctors, they carried out the life-saving surgery on me uh, by operating my leg and cutting it further up so that gangrene should not fall become, and they should try and save my leg as much as possible. And thereafter I was evacuated from there to Srinagar, and on 1st of July I was in Srinagar. And then from Srinagar base hospital, that was the first time I spoke to my family in the 2 months of war. They were not, in fact, they could not believe that, okay, I'm talking to them. And I just said, okay, fine, there's a little bit injury and I'm fine. I'm at Srinagar, and no, I'll be all right, and don't worry about that. So at that point of time, the only reaction from my family was, okay, we are so proud, we are so thrilled, we are so happy that one member of our family is there who was fighting the war, and we are so glad. And no problem in whatever condition it is. Uh, Now, since you are there in the hospital, we are sure that you'll be getting best of medical treatment, and we are happy that you are there, and we are getting all the updates of whatever your battalion and our Indian Army is doing. And and don't worry, we are not weak. And after a couple of days, after I think next after 2 days, I came back to a base hospital here in Delhi. And in Delhi, that was the first time my family actually came to know, okay, what is the level of injury, what is the kind of injury. And that time they came to know, okay, I have lost my leg below knee, and that's the level of injury. But none of them, they had any kind of regrets, as I never had any regrets. They were all so happy, though so proud. And the way we were taken, the way we were welcomed by everyone here in the base hospital, or by the doctors, by our colleagues, uh, it never felt that, okay, there is any kind of a loss. And since we were getting all the updates, and every day many casualties were coming, flowing in, flowing out of different hospitals, and many of our colleagues, they were injured. And that's how, like, uh, we were fortunate that yes, we came back in whatever shape. But after a couple of days, we came to know, okay, fine, today is what today is the 10th of July. So we were almost about to declare that ceasefire, almost about to complete the war in the 2 months. So that's how, like, the plenty of other incidents also, but I think I've taken much of a time. So this is how all the incidents took place during the war. Yeah.
So this is perhaps one of the best sessions we had. We could visualize everything that you have said, sir. And even we could
Absolutely.
feel your pain, everything we could feel, sir, actually.
Right.
Sir,
Uh,
in a very, very lighter note, I just
mhm.
want to say that have you seen of a Hollywood movie, Runaway Bride?
No, I haven't seen that.
Actually,
So,
I was just thinking that you were one of the runaway soldiers.
okay, okay. I,
In a
I this
very
is
lighter note, and the same story we heard from Brigadier Asthana also about one
okay.
of the officers of 1 by 11 Gorkha. They
Okay.
reported, the hospital reported to Brigadier Asthana that your officer has already run away from hospital, and he said that what can I do sitting here?
Hmm.
So let us wait what news we can get about him. And suddenly, and after 2 or 3 days, we just received him, who
Okay.
escaped from the hospital.
So, did you
Yes.
meet the doctor after that? I mean, what was her reaction?
Yeah. She was Dr. Tahira Jan, and she was a very very brave doctor. Her father was a IG in Jammu and Kashmir Police, and she was a doctor in the Jammu and Kashmir Medical Services. She left Jammu and Kashmir Medical Services and joined Indian Army as a doctor, and she gave her first choice of posting to Kargil, and being her home state, luckily Indian Army accepted her request, and she was posted in the Kargil field hospital. And since we knew each other well, so only like she said ki, okay, I'll take care of you, and I'll make sure that you become all right as soon as possible, vagare vagare. But yes, after the war, uh, and yes, we spoke on telephone a couple of times, and she always said ki, because of you I had to listen a lot from my commanding officer, that how dare you allow an officer escape or run away from the hospital like that. I said, "Ki, that is your problem to deal with. I had other other things to do in my life."
Problems. Yes, yes.
Yes, yes, yes. How could I sit in a hospital like that when I find that my battalion, my men, they are up in the mountains fighting the war? I couldn't afford to sit back like that. So sorry, that is not that's not what the reason why I have chose to wear the army uniform. I can't sit back in the hospital. So that is for you to stay in the hospital. You stay here, and I'll go back to the boys.
Sir, your father was in armed force. So, what was his first words to you after the war, when he spoke to you or saw you?
Okay, wonderful. Uh,
Actually, sir, your father saw the 71 war, and after 71, the full-fledged war was Kargil war,
yes,
in which
absolutely.
you took part.
Yes. Uh, I would say uh, uh, I could speak to my father alone like that, and I felt, yes, he felt quite proud of me up in the heavens, uh, because uh, I, I couldn't have so much time to stay with my father. I was in class 7 in 1983 when my father passed away. But
Sorry, sir.
no, 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 not a problem. Soldiers, you should never feel bad about soldiers. Uh, that's how. But he was always there with me, and during the tough times as well. So he has always been guiding. And after my injury also, I could definitely feel that he was showering the flowers on me. Yes, at least for the purpose for which you are wearing a uniform, you have actually proved your worth, that yes, you're whatever you're done, you're supposed to do, actually you're done that. So
Here, sir, I would want to show our viewers that famous video which connected us.
okay, yeah.
Lost my leg. Regrets. In fact, the day when we are putting on a uniform, that day we already promised our complete body, everything to the nation, for the nation. In fact, I'm not happy because only a small part of my body has gone, but still my complete body is left. So those idiot Pakistanis, they just take that small part.
Okay. Yes.
Amazing.
Amazing, such a lovely smile. even when you are at hospital.
Oh yes. And I don't know. Doctors even they say we do not know how you manage to survive after having dropped your vitals. And when they checked my HP, they said it has dropped down to 4. So at
Oh
that point
my
of
God.
time, we didn't understand what is HB4 and all these things. But yes, the doctors they did a wonderful job. They were actually the life-saving people for all of us. We got best of the treatment, best of the love and affection, and most importantly, all our injured soldiers, those who were there fighting with us, the love and affection and the way the entire nation uh, accepted us back into the society. That was the biggest healing effect for our injuries, uh, and that is also actually proven psychologically. If you are strong, mentally, if you are strong, so automatically your body starts behaving accordingly, and your recovery becomes faster. So at any point, given point of time, I never felt that okay, this is a kind of injury which is going to restrict me from in any kind of moment. Of course, I did have certain doubts in my own mind whether I'll be able to play back basketball or not, and how it's going to be a different life after this injury. Uh, I had plenty of doubts, but as time passed, as good people kept on meeting and kept on guiding us, so life actually has become more pleasant after the injury. Because when I got injured, I was around 28 years old. So now I'll be 50 years in the next month on 27th of August. So when I see my 28 years of life fully active and having a great physical life, and thereafter switching on to another mode, that is wearing with a prosthetic leg and then living a life. So it's a totally game changer. We actually, I had personally never ever thought about how a person with a artificial leg would be walking or running or doing his normal routine. But when I got injured and when I was on this side of the of my journey, I felt this is a totally different world, and here the challenges are of different nature. The life has given me another opportunity, that yes, I have to learn a lot and give back to society in whatever form I can. So life actually teaches you a lot. In fact, in a joking way, I always tell to my friends, okay, fine, yeah, I'd already lived my life once, and on 29th of June, so it was already complete. Then I went up, ऊपर चला गया तो भगवान ने बोला कि अरे आई थिंक हमने गलत आदमी को ऊपर बुला लिया है, यू आर नॉट सपोज टू यू आर नॉट सपोज टू बी हियर. तो ऊपर वाले किक मी बैक एंड वापस भेज दिया. आस्क कि भाई लिसन, यू हैव टू लिव अनदर लाइफ and there's plenty of things to enjoy in this beautiful world. Please go back and enjoy a second life. And that's how I take it. And every year I celebrate my birthday since then, uh, twice in a year. One when I was born on 27th of August, and second birthday on 29th of June when I was reborn. So recently I was 22 years old. It's only that क्योंकि मैं पहाड़ों में ज़्यादा चलता हूँ और धूप में ज़्यादा चलता हूँ, इट्स ओनली द ग्रे हेयर इज डिपेक्टिंग दैट ओनली. तो मैं थोड़ा पेंट कर लेता हूँ, तो इट्स जस्ट वाइट हेयर लाइक दैट. तो इन द वीडियो क्लिप में जो ब्लैक देखा, तो एक्चुअली मेरे बाल वैसे ही हैं. एंड मेरी हरकतों में भी कोई इतना कोई फर्क नहीं आया है. एंड टुडेज टाइम ऑल्सो लाइक since I'm in Delhi right now, I'm not able to actually climb the mountains as like used to do in Dehradun. So Mount Everest expedition में भी जाकर आए हैं. So like that these days also almost every day 5 to 10 kilometers go for running. So that scenario has not at all changed. So it's just the I have changed the color of my hair so that I should also look भाई उम्र के साथ में दिखना चाहिए कि आदमी ऐसा people accept you more. And in fact, you know, when you have some gray hair, that so people they actually give more weightage to your whatever you're saying. Otherwise, अगर काले बाल करके बात करेगा बोलेगा he is too young ना इसकी क्या बात सुनना. It's just like that. So age is just a number. Don't worry.
सर एक्चुअली बहुत कुछ सुनना है आपसे, lots of things, lots of things. And so we would request you to again come to us in one of our session to share your post Kargil journey. Rather, I would say from Kargil to Everest, your journey from Kargil to Everest.
Absolutely.
We would do one full session for that. So we
Yes.
would request you to promise
Sure.
us to come once again, sir.
Surely, Adrija. And I find there's a question, sir. Do you know
Yes.
Colonel Lakul Shering Sherpa? Yes, Colonel Sherpa. I'm fortunate that he is from 16 Grenadiers. He is my senior, and fortunately or unfortunately, we could not have a tenure together with us. But Sherpa sir, I met him a couple of times, and at Bikaner and also at Pathankot later on. So he's a very energetic officer, and उनको भी देख के हम यही बोलते हैं कि सर आप तो जैसे एकेडमी से पास आउट हुए थे, स्टिल यू आर ऑफ द सेम एज. तो Sherpa sir is so wonderful, so energetic, and so sporty. Yes, definitely.
Sir, actually, the one of the viewer is a NCC cadet, so
Okay.
he said that he is the Adam officer of his battalion.
Yes.
NCC
So,
battalion.
dear friend, please say Jai Hind to Colonel Sherpa sir from my side, and convey regards. And I will not invite him to Delhi. Because Delhi is not a place to stay. Definitely, I will be coming to your location to just get out
Siliguri,
of
sir,
there.
Siliguri.
He's in Siliguri. Okay, fine. The Siliguri is a better place. Yes, right.
Yes, sir. Sir, एक सवाल पूछना था. Sir, actually,
जी.
the world is so selfish. Like, वहाँ पे sir, I would love to hear from you. ये जो आपने when you had started sharing your journey in Kargil, the emphasis I have felt was on how to save the men who got injured, who lost their life. किसी को पीछे छोड़ के नहीं जाना, आगे तो जाना है पर किसी को पीछे नहीं छोड़ के जाना है. So that bonding, that responsibility, that love. So sir, I would request you to share, means rather to tell our viewers on that aspect, sir.
Well, this is the most challenging thing, in fact, during any operations, whether it was Kargil war or any operations right now. The operations are going on in Jammu and Kashmir and in the northeast also. That when we are going for any operation, at that point of time, our mission is the foremost. The most important thing is the mission in which we are going. Because just to share with you, when we are actually going for war, each and every movement is followed by another movement. If I am going for attack, so there is a word called HR, H for hotel, HR. So HR, and we say, okay, ghadi milao. Okay, so all the you might have seen in English movies or Hindi commando movies, all the people going in the mission, they check their watches and they all are having same timing. So once one particular group or one platoon is moving up or section moving up, from the HR, that is being decided, and we start moving. So after that HR, attack starts, and we are supposed to complete that mission by a particular time. Because if we capture at suppose the HR is at 11 at 2300 hours, night 11 o'clock. So by 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock we're supposed to complete one mission. It is expected that we will be completing and capturing that Pakistani post or any of our targets by that particular time. And once that time is over, immediately the other troops, those who are in line from a different portion, they will be coming on and further going up. and other kind of attack or operational activities will be continuing from that place, from that time on 2 o'clock onwards. So when the HR starts, then we do not look back onto our casualties at until and unless we finish our operations. The casualties are only being looked after जब मिशन पूरा हो जाएगा. Quite possible, many times it happens कि okay, 25 or 30 of our men, we are going for attack, we are going up, and out of 30, say only 20 reaches on the top, 10 they don't reach on the top, 2 or 3 they become martyred, and a couple of them they get injured. So wherever they're injured, they stay put back. We don't stop for them, because if we stop, that's what enemy wants. If we stop, then Pakistan, the enemies, they'll fire at us. Already they're firing at us. But the clock is ticking. We have to complete our mission by the given time, given hour, because all the other activities, other operations of other troops, it is being followed by your time, by the HR. So when we capture a position, then we immediately look back to our injured brothers and immediately take care of those men and don't leave them behind. Pakistanis, they left their men behind. Yes, that there's a difference between the Indian army and the Pakistani army. That the injured soldiers, they left behind. Indian army, we don't leave our men behind. And carrying a casualty is the biggest challenge in the mountains, or in fact in jungles or in deserts, because to bring back a casualty, minimum 3 to 4 persons are required. एक आदमी casualty को उठा सकता नहीं है, because he is injured. वो अपना खुद का अपना weapon, उसका सामान. Of course, one man can lift another person, but not for a long time. So casualty evacuation is a very, very important assignment or a task, and it takes a lot of strength and resources for any of the forces. So this is also part of our training, how to evacuate our casualties. If somebody has got actually seriously injured, somebody bleeding, so we just ensure that okay, he is brought back to a safe place, and we keep moving ahead. And once we capture our mission, complete our mission, then we come back, look after our soldiers, and bring each and every one of them back. Until and unless all my men, they are back, I cannot afford to come back. So this is a basic teaching, basic learning, basic training, and that's how every soldier actually does. And that has become part of our behavior, whether it is on duty or off duty. Whenever any such incident happens, so always we rise to the occasion and look after our citizens also.
Sir, as today we are within our Kargil series Vartalap, let us confined within the Kargil war, and as Autrija said, that from Kargil to Everest, we will go for another day. So to conclude the session, we just wish to have a message from you for the young generation of this country.
Thank you so much, Ansaya. Since these days are always remembered fondly by the entire nation, and every year we celebrate our Kargil Vijay Divas as well. So my message, or what I would like to share with my young friends, is that always be prepared. Always be prepared for the worst. Keep training yourself. Remain focused and be true to yourself. Everything and anything is possible in the world to achieve whatever you want to, provided you actually work hard for it, and actually you have to be very passionate about your goals. Many of you, those who have joined NCC, you can understand very well, and respect the authorities. It's not that only the army soldiers posted at the border, they are doing the only great service to the nation. No, each and every person wearing a uniform, whether it is in the paramilitary forces or the state police or NCC or home guard, everyone who is wearing a uniform is duty bound to look after the nation first. Then comes the welfare of your subordinates, their welfare and their safety. And finally comes your own safety and your own welfare. When each and every one of you have these kind of thoughts in your mind that the entire resource belongs to the nation, my nation comes first. As I told you in my talk, Naam, Namak or Nishan. It is applicable, dear friends, to each and every one of you. नाम इस देश का, नाम इस रेजिमेंट का, नाम अगर आप स्कूल में हैं तो आपके स्कूल के लोगों का, आप किसी कंपनी में काम कर रहे हैं, इन्फोसिस में काम कर रहे हैं, HCL में काम कर रहे हैं, आपकी कंपनी का जो लोगो है, आपकी कंपनी का जो फ्लैग है, उसका नाम. नमक, be loyal to whichever organization you're working with right now. कभी उससे गद्दारी नहीं करना, बिकॉज जिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से, जिस काम से, जिस स्कूल से, जिस और जहां से भी आपको अपनी जीविका मिलती है, फ्रॉम वेयर यू अर्न योर लाइवलीहुड, बी लॉयल टू दैट. जिसका नमक खाया है उसके साथ लॉयल्टी दिखाओ. देश का तो आप साथ में रहते ही हैं, और नाम, नमक और निशान, निशान इस देश का और आपकी कंपनी का, आपकी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन का. And look after, don't just get bothered about the worldly things, the materialistic things. हमसे अच्छे बहुत सारे होंगे, हमसे ज्यादा बहुतों के पास होगा, but whenever you get such feeling, always just look back, look down and thank God that you are blessed with wonderful body, you're blessed with wonderful soul, you're blessed with wonderful mind, healthy mind. Rest all, you see, some people are not so fortunate. So thank God for whatever you have in your life, and then you'll find peace in your life. Be बिल्कुल I would say ईमानदारी से, and अगर अपना काम करेंगे तो definitely any goal, whatever you plan for, it is achievable. And that is actually should be our motto, to give back to our society. You learn from society, give back to society. That's how, because we say कि हिंदूज में हम कहते हैं 84 लाख योनियां होती हैं, 84 लाख बर्थ वी हैव टू टेक, बट ह्यूमंस, हमको इंसान का सिर्फ एक ही जन्म मिला है. तो इस एक जन्म में कोशिश करो, चाहे आप छोटे बच्चे हो, बड़े हो, बुजुर्ग हो, कोशिश करो कि आपका हाथ हमेशा ऐसे रहे, देने में रहे. गिव, हाथ नीचे मत रखो. डोंट एक्सपेक्ट टू टेक, ऑलवेज एक्सपेक्ट टू गिव. मोर यू गिव, मोर यू गोइंग टू गेट. जितना बांटोगे उतना मिलेगा. दैट्स व्हाट आई वुड लाइक माय यंगर फ्रेंड्स and everyone who's listening to actually follow. And I think this can bring smiles not only to ourselves but to society as well. Thank you so much.
So after a great session of Kargil Vartalap series tonight, we are concluding here, wishing all the health and happiness to Captain Sangwan sir. And here we remember all the martyrs of Grenadiers, 2nd Raj Reef, and all the units where Sir fought for the Kargil War. And with great remembrance of those brave soldiers, and wishing all the war veterans a great life ahead, we are concluding this session tonight. Jai Hind.
Right. Jai Hind. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot.